When you're stuck in a job you hate, everyone assumes, you're just burned out. You've worked too hard. You're tired. You need a break. But if you've lived through childhood trauma, what looks like burnout is often something deeper. Trauma can quietly hold you down, keeping you from trying new things, from leaving bad situations, and from earning the money that you're worth and that you need in order to have real choices in your life. A job you hate drains your energy and it blinds you to options that are right in front of you. That's why rest never fixes it. This isn't about work hours. It's about patterns that started long before your first paycheck ever came. So you know that feeling. The alarm goes off and your body already is like, no, and you drag yourself through the day fantasizing about quitting. But when you think about actually quitting, you freeze. Or you hear an email notification. This has happened to me before. Every time I hear that little boop, there's an email in there, I'm like, ugh. That's how I know I'm burned out. It makes you cringe. It feels like one more thing you have to do when you don't want to do anymore. So you tell yourself to be grateful that you even have a job, and you tell yourself maybe you're just being dramatic. But deep down, you know it's not just stress. You've lost something inside yourself, that spark, that confidence, that sense of possibility. It's easy to blame the job, and sometimes the job really is to blame, I know. But when this pattern repeats, when you've hated every job you've had, or when you keep ending up in places that drain you, that's a clue. There's something deeper that keeps you small, tired, and afraid to move. So I stayed in a job for 10 years that I liked at first, but I soon realized that I was never going to be promoted, even though I was qualified. I was never going to be given an actual job versus contractor status, so that even though I was a single mom, I also had to buy my own health insurance for me and my kids. And I was never going to be included in the clique that went out to lunch every day. I was never going to get credit for the work that I stayed late most days to finish. And I really thought if I did a good job and was nice to everybody, they would like me and the boss would finally make it possible to advance and get paid enough to actually live on what I made and be there for my kids at the level I needed to be. But I stayed 10 years. And I used to call myself Cinderella in my mind. I didn't say it out loud. But that's what I felt like. I was ghostwriting other people's projects who did get promotions and who would go to the lunch they were invited every day. But I was never getting treated like an equal. And the last 2 years of that 10-year job were such a burnout. And it was only in the last few weeks that my spirit came to life, like a last gasp, like, Anna! And it fought back, and I finally spoke up. And I was already interviewing elsewhere. And I could afford to shoot my mouth off at that point because I finally had a couple of offers. And a little bit, I hope that those people that I used to work with see me online right now and understand that all that time I was capable of so much more than they saw me capable of. But the person whose job it is, really, to make sure that I'm working at the happiest and most accomplished level I can is me. Not seeing that and staying where you're burned out and not appreciated, it's a trauma symptom. Yes, burnout comes from working too much. That is true, okay? But for a lot of people with trauma, burnout is just the surface symptom of something deeper. Trauma affects how you see yourself, what you believe you deserve, and how much risk you can tolerate. It can quietly convince you that staying small is the only right choice. And if you were to try to do better and then fail, the pain could be more than you could bear. That's what trauma tells you. That's why so many people stay in miserable jobs long after they know it's wrong. It's not laziness or indecision. It's a very strong and compelling survival habit. When you grow up in chaos, the best choice you think is the one that feels familiar, even if the familiar thing is painful. Like familiar doesn't fill up your cognitive load so much. It's like learning new software or something. I have to learn so many new technological things. And sometimes I'm just like, no, I don't care if the new thing is better. I'm not learning it because I need every bit of bandwidth I've got to make some videos or, go give a workshop. It just feels like too much. When you're used to survival, thriving can actually feel threatening. So you call it burnout. You think you just need a vacation, but rest, that's the sign. Rest doesn't fix the pattern. The real issue isn't overwork in this case. It's that your capacity to expect better from your life has been crushed by your own experiences, but also your neglect of this part of you, by the way you've stayed quiet when something hurts, until your self-suppression has turned your mind dull and your thoughts sour. These are the patterns that keep people stuck in jobs they hate. And I'll tell you 5 of them that you can work on starting right now. The first one is aiming too low. When you've lived through trauma, aiming high can feel dangerous. So instead of your goals, you take jobs that are, safe instead of jobs that fit your talent. You settle for the role you already know you can do, and you talk yourself out of applying, out of speaking up, out of reaching higher. And over time, this becomes an identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone with potential, and you start living like you're just so lucky that anybody tolerates you at all, right? You stop expecting good things, and that's not humility. It's a trauma pattern that protects you from disappointment, or you think it does. Does it, though? The second one is staying too long. You already know when a job isn't right for you. You feel it in your body before you even admit it to yourself. The dread before Monday, is unbearable. And the way your energy crashes halfway through the day, the little flashes of resentment that you push down, these are the signs. But instead of leaving, you rationalize. You say, it's not that bad. Or you say, I'll stay until the next review. Or you stay because leaving feels like free fall. And you've had that before where you didn't have enough money to get to the next month's rent. And you're terrified of going there again. So this is often tied to trauma and also abandonment wounds, the old fear that if you let go, you'll have nothing, and you need to start having the experience of bridging yourself from one situation to another successfully. That's what's going to help your nervous system start to accept that, yes, it is possible to make changes. So don't lose any more of your time, your energy, and your self-respect not taking steps towards that bridge. All right, the third thing is under-earning. This is one of the clearest ways that trauma shows up in work life. You can be brilliant and capable and reliable and still broke. Not because you can't earn more, but because you've learned not to expect more. You accept the low offer. You don't ask for a raise. Like asking for a raise feels so stressful. It just feels like it's going to break you, right? That's a very self-defeating thought, actually. So you convince yourself, oh, well, I should just be grateful. And there's people all over the world who have so much less than I do. Are you familiar with these thoughts? Or you externalize responsibility for someone to recognize your potential and your worth. But you don't do it. Like, when will your boss do it? When will somebody else realize it? But you don't do it. And guess what? It has to be you. Under-earning has a chain reaction. When you don't earn enough, you can't save. When you can't save, you can't risk leaving. And when you can't leave, you stay stuck in environments that exhaust you. So under-earning keeps you living paycheck to paycheck, not just financially, but emotionally. Always scraping by, never resting easy. And this wears down the confidence and the physical energy needed to find a new opportunity out there that is right for you. All right, the fourth pattern that keeps you stuck in bad jobs is relationship strain. Trauma makes work relationships harder. This is a fact. Now, you might overgive. You try to please everyone so no one gets upset. Or you might isolate, doing everything alone so no one can disappoint you. Or maybe you take criticism personally. Or you bottle up frustration until you explode. The problem isn't just conflict. It's what that strain costs you. Because relationships are how opportunity moves. Promotions, mentorship, chances to grow, they all come through connection. And when trauma makes you defensive or withdrawn, it blocks those openings. You don't get that feedback that helps you improve. You don't get the support that helps you advance. So you get very, very calcified. We've all worked with such people. Do you know what I'm talking about? Finally, the fifth pattern that keeps you stuck is your frazzled nervous system that can't ever really get regulated, right? So dysregulation, it doesn't cause every problem in life, but when it's there, it makes every problem harder. So a simple request feels like an attack. You make a mistake and it feels like a catastrophe. A meeting feels like a verdict, right? You can't think clearly enough to make decisions. You can't calm down enough to see what's real. And that's why re-regulation is so powerful. Not because it fixes your job, but because it gives you your mind back. It lets you respond instead of react. It frees your energy for action instead of panic. With re-regulation, you don't just survive the job, you start to see your way out of it. For many people, being stuck in a job they hate isn't about motivation, even if they think so, even if people tell you that. It's about long-term stress patterns that started in childhood. And when you grow up having to manage chaos, your system adapts by staying alert and small, very small. Small is safe. That's what it feels like. You learn not to make waves. You learn that effort doesn't always lead to reward. So in adult life, that same adaptation shows up as settling. You stay quiet even when you're mistreated. You put up with things you shouldn't have to do. You keep performing in jobs that are far beneath what you can do, not because you want to, but because you can't yet imagine a world where you could do better and be safe at the same time. We call that, in the Crappy Childhood Fairy membership, we call it crap fitting. We fit ourselves to unacceptable people and situations. Crap fit. I love this word. Says it all, right? So that's why it's not just burnout. Burnout heals with time off, but trauma patterns live in the body and in your sense of possibility. You don't rest your way out of it. You build your way out of it. Re-regulation is the turning point. It steadies you enough to see reality. You start to notice what's really happening, what's the job, what's your pattern, and what's actually possible for you. And when you're regulated, you can tolerate the stress of change. You can hold boundaries without collapsing. You can plan steps forward without spinning out. And that's how real change starts. Not by quitting in a panic, but by getting clear enough to move on purpose. And the good news is none of this is fixed. It's not stuck like that. You're not doomed to stay small or poor or stuck. Every time you re-regulate, you make a little more room for strength. Every time you tell the truth, this job is not right for me, you reclaim a piece of your power. Healing isn't about suddenly loving your job. It's about waking up from the trance that says you have no choice. You do. You can build skills. You can earn more. You can leave. You can start something new. You can rebuild a life that isn't just about surviving work, but about using your energy for something that matters. I have this very cool thought exercise that I can share with you that helps you see what you already know is your potential, and you even know what you'd have to do to fulfill that potential. You do know, you're just like not in touch with it right now. So this exercise is called 1 Year to Heal. It's a free download, and I'll link that in the description section below this video. You might have to click the More button. It's really a little link, the word more. You click it, it opens up the full description section. So you can see everything there, including my 1 Year to Heal exercise. Look for that. Get your own copy of it. I think you're going to like this. So if you're stuck in a job you hate, don't just call it burnout. I mean, if you rest and it's better, maybe it was burnout. But look closer. Are you aiming low? Are you staying too long? Are you under-earning or struggling with people? Are you too dysregulated to think straight? Those patterns don't define you. They're just the old rules still running your life. You can break through this cage of trauma-driven beliefs. You can re-regulate. You can take clear, steady action towards something better. You can rebuild your confidence and your finances and your peace. You don't have to keep suffering in work that hurts you. You can learn the skills to get free. Because it's not just burnout, it's old pain showing up in your adult life, and you are not stuck with it anymore. If you like this video, I've got one that you're going to love right here, and I'll see you very soon. A lot of people are afraid that if they focus on themselves, they'll be lonely or bored or useless or just too consumed with themselves. But when you avoid yourself like this, you lose all your power. And guess what? You become lonely and bored and unable to be useful to anyone.